ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ जननीं शरदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे त्वयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। ॐ नमः श्रीजतिराजाय विवेकानन्दशूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तपहारिणे। So friends, we are reading from nation building through character building. Let us start. Have fire and spread all over. Work, work. Be the servant while leading. Be unselfish and never listen to one friend in private accusing another. Have infinite patience and success is yours. Work, work. For to work only for the good of others is life. Listen to an old story. A lazy tramp sauntering along the road saw an old man sitting at the door of his house and stopped to inquire of him the whereabouts of a certain place. How far is such and such village? He asked. The old man remained silent. The man repeated his query several times. Still, there was no answer. Disgusted at this, the traveler turned to go away. The old man then stood up and said, "The village is only a mile from here." "What?" said the tramp. "Why did you not speak when I asked you before?" "Because then," said the old man, "you seemed so halting and careless about proceeding, but now you are starting off in good earnest, and you have a right to an answer. Will you remember this story, my son? Go to work, the rest will come. Whosoever, not trusting in anything else but me, rests on me, I supply him with everything he needs. This is no dream. My children must be ready to jump into fire, if needed, to accomplish their work. Now work, work, work. We will stop and compare notes later on. Have patience, perseverance, and purity. Be positive. Do not criticize others. The only remedy for bad habits is counter habits. All the bad habits that have left their impressions are to be controlled by good habits. Go on doing good, thinking holy thoughts continuously. That is the only way to suppress bad impressions or base impressions. Never say any man is hopeless, because he only represents a character, a bundle of habits which can be checked by new and better ones. Character is repeated habits, and repeated habits alone can reform character. Every new thought that we have must make as it were a new channel through the brain, and that explains the tremendous conservatism of human nature. Human nature likes to run through the ruts that are already there because it is easy. If we think, just for example's sake, that the mind is like a needle and the brain substance a, a soft lump before it. Then each thought that we have makes a street, as it were, in the brain, and this street would close up. But for the grey matter, which comes and makes a lining to keep it separate. If there were no grey matter, there would be no memory, because memory means going over these old streets, retracting a thought, as it were. Now, perhaps you have marked that when one talks on subjects in which one takes a few ideas that are familiar to everyone and combines and recombines them, it is easy to follow because these channels are present in everyone's brain and it is only necessary to recur them. But whenever a new subject comes, new channels have to be made, so it is not understood readily. And that is why it is the brain and not the people themselves, refuses unconsciously to be acted upon by new ideas. It resists. The prana is trying to make new channels, and the brain will not allow it. This is the secret of conservatism. The fewer channels there have been in the brain, and the less the needle of the prana has made these passages, the more conservative will be the brain, the more it will struggle against new thoughts. The more thoughtful the man, the more complicated will be the streets in his brain, and the more easily he will take to new ideas and understand them. So, with every fresh idea, we make a new impression in the brain, cut new channels through the brain stuff, and that is why we find that in the practice of yoga, it being an entirely new set of thoughts and motives, there is so much physical resistance at first. That is why we find that the part of religion which deals with the world side of nature is so widely accepted, while the other part, the philosophy or the psychology, which deals with the inner nature of man, is so frequently neglected. The gigantic willpowers of the world movers, can bring their prana into a high state of vibration, and it is so great and powerful that it catches others in a moment, and thousands are drawn towards them, and half the world think as they do. Great prophets of the world had the most wonderful control of the prana, which gave them tremendous willpower. They had brought their prana to the highest state of motion, and this is what gave them power to sway the world. All manifestations of power arise from this control. When a man is meditating, he is also concentrating the prana. In an ocean, there are huge waves like mountains, then smaller waves, and still smaller, down to little bubbles. But back of all these is the infinite ocean. The bubble is connected with the infinite ocean at one end and the huge wave at the other end. So, one may be a gigantic man and another a little bubble, but each is connected with that infinite ocean of energy, which is the common birthright of every animal that exists. Wherever there is life, the storehouse of infinite energy is behind it. An increase of speed, an increase of struggle is able to bridge the gulf of time. In an engine with a certain amount of coal runs 2 miles an hour. It will run the distance in less time with a greater supply of coal. Why not reach it immediately in this body, even in this human form? Why shall I not get that infinite knowledge, infinite power now? If we examine our lives, we find that the greatest cause of sorrow is this: we take up something and put our whole energy on it. Perhaps it is a failure, and yet we cannot give it up. We know that it is hurting us, that any further clinging to it is simply bringing misery on us. Still, we cannot tear ourselves away from it. The bee came to sip the honey, but its feet stuck to the honey pot, and it could not get away. Again and again, we are finding ourselves in that state. That is the whole secret of existence. Why are we here? We came here to sip the honey, and we find our hands and feet sticking to it. We are caught, though we came to catch. We came to enjoy. We are being enjoyed. We came to rule. We are being ruled. We came to work. We are being worked. All the time we find that. And this comes into every detail of our life. We are being worked upon by other minds, and we are always struggling to work on other minds. We want to enjoy the pleasures of life, and they eat into our vitals. We want to get everything from nature, but we find in the long run that nature takes everything from us, depletes us, and casts us aside. Had it not been for this, life would have been all sunshine. Never mind, with all its failures and successes, with all its joys and sorrows, it can be one succession of sunshine if only we are not caught. That is the one cause of misery. We are attached, we are being caught. Therefore, says the Gita, work constantly, work, but be not attached, be not caught. Reserve unto yourself the power of detaching yourself from everything. However, beloved, however much the soul might yearn for it, however great the pangs of misery you feel if you were going to live it, still reserve the power of living it whenever you want. The weak have no place here in this life or any other life. Weakness leads to slavery. Weakness leads to all kinds of misery, physical and mental. Weakness is death. There are hundreds of thousands of microbes surrounding us, but they cannot harm us unless we become weak. Until the body is ready and predisposed to receive them. There may be a million microbes of misery floating about us. Never mind. They dare not approach us. They have no power to get a hold on us until the mind is weakened. This is the great fact. Strength is life, weakness is death. Strength is felicity, life eternal, immortal. Weakness is constant strain and misery. Weakness is death. So I stop here for today. Let us pray. ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यं मनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पा धृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतरं परमेशमिड्ढं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामि ॐ यथाग्नेर्दाहिकशक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हि जा सर्वविद्यास्वरूपं तं शरदं प्रणमम्यहम् परो तत्ते सदा लीनो रामकृष्णसमग्रया जो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरशङ्तं नमाम्यहम्